Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Maria Aguete. I'm Senior Research Director at Omdia, and I am based in London, the UK. So for me, it's good morning. We have a fantastic webinar ahead of us where we're going to discuss about streaming platforms, all the secrets around global expansion, and how important is localization. So to discuss this fantastic, fascinating topic organized by DICM, I have three fantastic speakers with me today that I want to introduce one by one. And all of us have fascinating slides, decks, insights, data you have probably haven't seen before. So to introduce the speakers, I will let them say a quick hello, all of them. I'm going to start with Aqeel Ahmed. Aqeel, are you here?
Yes. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Aqeel Ahmed. I am the head of marketing for Tabii, which is the digital streaming service of TRT, bringing Turkish culture and Turkish content to the world. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I've been part of the media industry my whole career. I've transitioned from newspaper to television and to streaming, trying to decipher those cool acronyms that the industry keeps throwing up, right from the ASLs to the CTRs, the CPMs, and now to AVOD, SVOD, FAST, all the while trying to figure out why I'm part of an industry called OTT, which is over the top. For me, over the top was just the words that were used to describe my 8th grade performance in what I thought was a soul-stirring rendition of Mowgli in Jungle Book. But I think they were right.
Great.
And, anyway, it's great to be here and looking forward to a great discussion.
Fantastic, Aqeel. Thank you very much. And we also have from Amagi, Stefan. Stefan, are you here?
Yes. Hello, everybody. First of all, I mean, it's an honor and a pleasure to be part of this panel with you, Maria, with you, Aqeel, and Udai. Thank you for everybody for joining. It's summertime, but really happy to see everybody here. It's a big pleasure. Quick words about myself. I'll be very quick. So Stefan Niesen, I'm based in Dubai. I represent Amagi for EMEA, and I've been, I would say, in the digital TV broadly between telecom operators, between content, OTT, and everything for about 25 years now. So I'm happy to be part of the panel today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stefan. And finally, we have also Udai in the call. Udai?
Hello, everybody. I'm Udai, Business Development Manager at Language Solutions. We're a translation and localization agency based in Dubai. We help international distributors and broadcasters reach the local audience and help the local players reach internationality. I started as a translator with the agency and made my way to business development. So hopefully I'll be able to present some insights about localization that will help everyone who's watching.
Fantastic. Looking forward to see all your decks, all your slides and insights. But I think I'm going to start myself at Omdia, part of Informatech. We have been covering the landscape of streaming around the world, and I have some brand new data to show you today. So let me share my screen very quickly with all of you. So let me show you some highlights of what we believe at Omdia are the key themes in media and entertainment going forward. So I'm going to discuss about the media and entertainment, how it's a 1 trillion industry in 2024. Most of that trillion will come from video. Then I'm going to speak about why advertising is such an important topic right now. What is this concept called P2F, pay to free? We will discuss hybrid models, FAST, and AI and media. I think everyone knows that all the growth today comes from streaming. When we see the $1 trillion in revenues in 2024, 70% will come from video from television, followed by games, followed by music, and followed by cinema. But you can see that in the video world, it's online, it's streaming that is growing faster now than traditional TV. And very important is not only that video is growing fast, its advertising will represent in the streaming world 62% of those revenues. So advertising is becoming more and more important in streaming, in traditional TV, and even in the world of games, 32% of those revenues will come from advertising. So we will see a huge expansion from ad-supporting models. Who remembers when Netflix said back in 2015, Netflix will never, ever have advertising? Really? Famous last words. So why did they launch advertising? Because when we see the whole ecosystem of TV, cinema, pay TV, online video, online, advertising, this red line, will be the highest by far growth area going forward. 375 billion, 2029. No surprise that even Netflix wants to be in this advertising world. What about MENA in the Middle East? Here as well, we will see how is in fact online video advertising the highest by far growth area that they will grow the highest. We see a lot of growth as well coming from online video subscription, even from pay TV, but a decline in what we call traditional TV. But like in the rest of the world, growth will come from advertising, online video advertising. There is a milestone. At the end of last year, 2023, MENA exceeded $1 billion in subscription revenues. So the streaming video in Middle East is in a very healthy position. It's growing really fast. So although we said advertising will be the fastest growth area, subscription demand is doing really well. Who are the leaders? Number one is Shahid, part of NBC, followed by the Stars Play Arabia, and in third place, Netflix. How did Shahid and Stars Play manage to be number 1 and 2? Knowing the region, knowing the local audience, knowing what consumers in that region want to watch. As I said in the beginning, the future is hybrid. So every big streaming platform today, Netflix, Amazon, Disney, all of them will have an advertising tier. Many of you have heard about FAST. What is this thing about FAST? FAST is free ad-supported streaming TV. It's included in those online advertising revenues, and it's a linear collection of free content. Linear because despite of the growth in on-demand, people like to relax, sit down in the sofa and watch linear content. So yes, linear is not dead. People like that relaxing experience. And now FAST became super popular. Everyone wants to be involved in the FAST world. Device companies like LG, Samsung, Roku, online platforms like Pluto TV, online channels, IP owners like Warner, broadcasters, everyone is involved in this FAST ecosystem. Why? When we look here at hardware companies, we see that companies like Roku, companies like Vizio, no longer make money selling TVs or selling hardware. The money will come from advertising, from services. So there is a lot of money in the advertising services platform world, not so much in hardware. So the connected TV world will be critical for many of those players. At Omdia, we did a consumer survey with Ipsos highlighting top video services per country, and we found something interesting. Number one, YouTube is the most loved video service by weekly basis, monthly basis, and daily basis all around the world, also in the Middle East. In fact, Saudi is the country where per capita people consume more YouTube videos than any other country in the world. Very interesting fact as well is not just YouTube popularity, is Instagram Reels becoming in many countries more popular than Netflix. So what do I mean with this? We need to pay attention to social video services like YouTube, like Instagram Reels, like TikTok, because consumers are there. So this can be partners of your services. So look at them, put attention, because eyeballs are in those services. Where is the money? In the FAST world, we said that the US will dominate the 12 billion FAST market in 2028. Western Europe will surpass 1 billion, Latin 400 million, Where is Middle East? It's very low. Middle East will be very low. I would like to ask Stefan later what does he think FAST will do in this region, but at the moment it's tiny. FAST revenues in Middle East are tiny. Why will this change? So outside the US, the big players, you can see here, United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, Brazil, Australia, Mexico, South Korea, but no country in Middle East come in the top 10. Will this change? Let's see. But again, put things in context. I said FAST is 12 billion in revenues. Compare this with TikTok and YouTube, then kind of looks tiny. Again, doesn't mean you should not pay attention to FAST, of course, but put attention, as I said, in big players. How can you partner with them to make your content popular? And I couldn't speak about trends in media without talking about the role of AI. AI will be the most transformative technology on the table. We did a consumer survey, not consumer, enterprise survey. And yes, all of the organizations agree that AI will be by far the most transformative technology going forward. In media and entertainment, 63% of those companies we interviewed said yes, they are already introducing, they are already using AI tools to create efficiencies. And consumers are used to use AI. They may not know it was AI or machine learning or what it was, but people, when they look for content, when they interact with their TVs, they were already using many of these AI tools. I love this one, AI game changing for dubbing, because as we will speak with the panelists later, you can see that chart from Omdia saying that outside English, Spanish content is very popular, Hindi, Japanese, Korean, Turkish content outside English is becoming more and more popular. And in some countries, people want that content dubbed, in other subtitles, but dubbed is really important. And at the moment, it can be very expensive. So AI will allow more languages, more access to content all around the world. I love also the use of AI in sports. AWS have been doing lots of partnerships with NFL, with Formula One, with Ferrari, and it will help tremendously the world of sports. And of course, the world of advertising. Again, AWS replacing 3D images with different brands in any country in the world. So the applications of AI are huge. Finally, partnerships, the old and the new. Telcos will play a critical role in the streaming world because telcos and streamers is compulsory for them to go together to reduce churn, to grow. These partnerships are a must. In fact, we believe in 2028, 25% of all the streaming subscriptions will come thanks to a partnership with a telco. That's it for me. Thank you very much. Happy to share the deck if you are interested. But this was a very quick overview. And now I'm very curious to know what our panelists think about some of those facts. In fact, I think I'm going to start with Stefan, because I did say Stefan is an expert in FAST, and I mentioned that Middle East at the moment, FAST revenues, 9 million, are tiny, Stefan, they're really tiny. Mm-hmm. Why do you think is that? Do you agree with my numbers? Do you have different information?
Yeah, so I don't have specifically a number here, but I have some specific number on FAST. Numbers in Middle East, it's pretty difficult because it's as you said, it's quite the beginning. Yeah, so if you compare with US or Europe, you do not have really like a CTV manufacturer. As you know, larger, I mean, the top 3 platforms, typically in US, you have Samsung, you have Roku, you have Pluto. None of them were there, I would say, until very recently. Probably everybody is aware that Samsung has launched a couple of weeks ago with about 20 channels. So they are now also part of the landscape. Yeah, so the market is really at the beginning. Nevertheless, I would say what is really positive is that if you compare Middle East with Europe, you have a huge advantage in the Middle East. It's the language, I would say, uniformation. So that means basically that for a content owner, launching a channel, for example, launching content, means basically that you will reach and target way more eyeballs than you will if you launch a channel in Italian or in French or in German in Europe. Yeah, so that's the investment is much much more profitable, I would say.
And Stefan, I forgot to ask the audience, please feel free to send us as many questions as you have, because this is live, that will allow us to answer in real time. And I already have a question about which content people love in different parts of the world. So I'm going to let the speakers, because many of these questions will be answered with the slides, and then we'll come back to the question. But Stefan, I believe you have a deck to highlight.
Yeah, I will share that. Yeah, sure. All right, I hope it's visible for everybody.
Perfect, thank you.
Wonderful, perfect. Yeah. So a couple of numbers also, because we like numbers. So again, this is pretty large numbers, I would say, on fast markets today and in the past. So we can see here that we were around 6.8 billion two years ago. We are around 9 billion. And the forecast around 20 billion, sorry, for 2023. So it's definitely a growing market due to multiple factors. We spoke about user adoption, launch of new regions. So MENA is one of an example, and also new platforms. There is a lot of new platforms and platforms that we are not necessarily seen in the past as being a fast platform in the past. I'll give you an example. Telecom operators are also new players also in fast. We have a very concrete example like Virgin, for example, in the UK. They have launched actually fast as part of their bouquet. So it's a completely seamless experience for a user, but that's definitely part of the landscape. Yeah. So what is growing? I would say this is basically a view which compare quarter to quarter, year on year, and you can see that well, everything is I would say growing in parallel. Number of channels, number of impression, and of course hours of viewing. So everything is kind of working in parallel and growing in parallel seamlessly. You have a few differences if you see on the numbers here, which are related to the quarter, the seasonal aspect, and we will have the same in the Middle East also with Ramadan and Christmas time and so on. They are definitely from an ad impression, some periodicity, which is very important to take into account. This view basically is to focus really more on the EMEA part of the Middle East and Europe and Middle East. We can see really a similar growth of 3 digits per year on year. And it follows the same path as the US market. Also in terms of projection for the coming years, we can see EMEA growing faster actually than US, which is of course more mature market, which is already probably about 6 years old now, which is already reaching a certain maturity level. Important to focus really on I would say on what works in terms of content. Yeah. So the top 2 categories, entertainment, lifestyle, are basically leading in every categories. Hours of viewing, impression, revenue. So this is quite impressive, and we can see this trend really keeping up. First time I saw this chart, I was a bit surprised by sports. I always thought that sports would be very, very popular. But it's also related to the fact that there was also not a lot of live sports available in fast, and this is actually changing. And also the IP, I would say the brands that are now joining in fast are much more powerful than in the past. To give you some example, we have very recently launched. We are launching right now some football clubs, typically, so like Barca TV, for example, NBA, ATP channels in tennis, paddle channels. So really like sports that are very, very popular, even with live rights. So that I feel that sports will be becoming also more popular also in terms of revenue and viewership. To focus really more about MENA, probably more Middle East and Africa in a certain way. What we can see here, and that's also very visible from Maya's decks as well. Most of the platforms are actually SVOD or broadcaster platforms. There is, as of now, no CTV, or very recently no CTV, and no consumer devices such as Roku and so on. So we expect really with the launch of Samsung to get a momentum actually, and also have more CTV. The more platforms, the more content owners you have actually will also provide more revenue and more potential for any content owners joining. So it's a very, very positive, I would say, trends that we can see here right now. So what about the users? What about the end users in terms of, I would say, what they are looking at in terms of experience? First of all, I mean, why people are watching fast? I mean, people watch fast because it's free, first of all, but it's not enough. I mean, people watch because it's also quality content. So that's very important to keep. And we see, I don't know if this word exists, but a premiumization, I would say, of the fast. We've seen a lot of content owners dropping in the past, being replaced much more strong brands, and so there is a continuous, I would say, improvement of the content. So that again, quality will be very, very important in fast. The other aspect is that people are looking also, I would say, also to have relevant ads. People want to not to digest, I would say, over and over the same ads. People want to have targeted ads and ads that are also relevant for them. Yeah, that's another very important factor. So this is something where monetization and targeting and everything, and the metadata, the proper implementation of metadata, takes a very, very important role in the fast world. Again, from a viewership perspective, we can see here that that's basically a chart showing really streaming online video over different devices, and we can see surprisingly that connected TV are still very high with about 40%. So connected TV are not dead; they are still there, yeah, it's also the power of CTV, as also Maya's pointed, is that it's a lean back experience. And today we all have a big issue in terms of finding the proper content. We spend a lot of time finding it. So this leaning back experience is very valuable for a lot of people. It's much more relaxing. Yeah. So what is the future in fast, and what are we expecting? I would say so those are kind of 4 main bullet points we have identified in terms of what is coming next, and what is I would say the expectation in the industry. First of all, it's the importance of AVOD within fast. If you see most of the surveys, typically like Samsung, you have a dimension of AVOD as well, catch-up TV, part of the linear channel. So that's something very important, and we see very good results in terms of viewership and monetization. The second topic is basically new ad formats. Recently, we've seen also a lot of overlay graphics. Overlay graphics are the big benefit of being disturbing for the end user, specifically for live events. I would say you can have L-bands, you can have I would say any tickers or anything like that will not be disturbing. So it's very, very valuable. We've seen on-screen launch typically on Samsung and LG and other platforms. So that's a very big trend, and I think this will be also growing up a lot this year. More live events, it's also something that we've seen a lot. So more and more live rights are coming into fast as well. And the last part is also personalized fast channels, so personalized EPG per user. So this is something also that is coming more and more. Yeah. All right, so I mean, just quick words about Amagi. I don't want to be too much on the commercial side, but so Amagi is working really in terms of pivotal role, I would say, in fast. So we are working with creating channels for content owners. We are enabling fast platforms with channel sourcing, for example, with ad tech and monetization. Yeah, so that's just to give you, and so those are some of the logos we are working with. Thank you, Maya.
Fantastic, Stefan. And there are already lots of people from the audience asking questions. In fact, there is one here saying, how does Amagi facilitate the localization process for streaming platforms? And what innovative solutions do you offer to address regional preferences?
It's a good question. I mean, this is, I mean, it's a very important question, because if you look at the regionalization aspect, launching a channels per country or mix or dubbing, I mean, say whatever, I mean, subtitling or dubbing, is extremely costly for a content owner, and you need to have the eyeballs, you need to have the hours of viewing behind that. So one of the technology we have put in place is basically that if you have assets with multiple audio tracks and multiple dubbing, we can ingest them. We can output then multiple feeds according to the different regions with one single playout. So that's really a very nice way to do it. And you have only one scheduling effort in this case and one playout. So that's one of the aspect. And then after that, the monetization, of course, is definitely per region because we have different channel monetization network per countries, typically.
And Stefan, the audience also wants to know what differences do you see between consumption partners and content delivery in established markets versus emerging ones? You say that, for example, in Middle East, FAST is just starting right now. So what are the differences you see between Middle East, for example, and other regions in terms of consumption partner patterns and challenges launching FAST in this region? And if you know about new players coming in the region, can you give us some headlines?
Yeah, so there is a lot of new platform that will pop up in the Middle East. Definitely what we can see is that there will be maybe a little bit more of a telco approach, I would say, and we've seen this trend not only, of course, in the Middle East, but the Middle East will definitely embrace that. I think the players that are today in the Middle East are very strong. If you take Stars Play, if you take MBC, they are extremely strong. They are very knowledgeable from a content perspective. They know how to program channels. They know what the end users are looking at, and the combination of the SVOD and live TV are very, very strong. But today we see telco also embracing more and more this, and they will also in this way also lower the content cost and also get much more I would say a valuable lineup for a cheaper price in a certain way. So that's something that will be that is growing.
Telcos in the Middle East will be launching more and more FAST channels. So let's pay attention to that one. Thank you, Stefan. Pleasure. And I want to move now to Aqeel, because I also mentioned in my presentation that English content, for example, when we look at Netflix, is the #1 type of language. But after English, Spanish, Hindi, there are many other languages that are becoming very, very popular. Aqeel knows a lot about content, especially Turkish content. So I want him, Aqeel, to see, first of all, anything from the presentations you have seen so far that you were surprised of what I said or Stefan said.
Yeah, I'll be touching upon the content and international content expansion in my presentation. But just on the previous presentations, I think it is a little bit surprising that FAST has not picked up as much in MENA. I think that is whether it's due to that maybe subscription fatigue is still not set in for people in the Middle East, and they're ready to sort of expand the per individual to 2.5 to maybe even 3 subscriptions per household, and they're happy with the quality of content that they're receiving and willing to pay for it so far. Maybe FAST has still not reached the stage where where the content is attractive enough for someone to step in. Maybe that's my point of view, but it may change going forward.
Yeah, I think it's the CPMs to make sure that advertising revenues are high enough to justify that content. So you are correct, Aqeel. But Aqeel, I know you have a fantastic deck to show us what tabii is doing and some of the content you are doing, where are you expanding. So should we see your deck, and then I will follow up with questions, and then for everyone in the audience, feel free to post questions here. We would love to answer you. So
yes, of course. Let me just share my screen. All right. Okay, so before I get into the topic of localization and content, I just thought I'll take a step back and look at a brief history of the evolution of streaming so far, where it's come from and where it's at the moment, because I think we are at an interesting crossroads for streaming, where if you look at it, it's like a full circle moment. If you look at the top of the chart and where cable TV sort of VOD detached itself from cable TV, going from what was appointment viewing at that time to watching whenever, anytime, anywhere, and that's where VOD caught fire. And then, of course, ad-free was a really good pillar on which VOD was built. Binge became part of popular culture and led to annoying words such as spoilers, which I'm not too fond of. And of course, being able to watch a lot of content, entire series at one point in time, instead of waiting week on week for something that audiences lapped up. And what I meant by global to local is initially platforms sort of exported Western content to various parts of the world. But as you will see going along, that is changing quite rapidly. If you see the tide turning from the ad-supported models, which are coming back everywhere, all platforms are coming back to ad-supported. Weekly drops are becoming a very real thing, where because of the cost economies of having individual episodes rather than creating an entire series and dropping, of course. Live channels, which is a cornerstone of FAST, as we discuss live channels, is also something that's coming back. And it's also something which I think is due to choice paralysis, which you see these days, which is basically excess choice is making people spending more time deciding what to watch rather than watching something. So it's a problem which I liken to like my wallet is too big for the thousands of dollars I have. It's not really a problem, but people have that issue these days. And going to local to global, this is a big change that we're seeing. So examples such as Money Heist and Squid Games, where you had productions made locally and then exported to the world. So that's a big change that's happening. And that brings me to the change which you can see. And I've taken Netflix US library only, for example, where you see almost 48% of the library being non-English. And if you see on the left-hand side, about 5,500 titles out of 11,000 odd are non-English, which is a huge pivot which the industry is going through. And a lot of platforms are catching on to this. The next question you would have from there is basically which are the regions and which are the languages which are dominating this non-English library. And I don't think anybody would be too surprised to see South Korean content as number one. But what some people would be surprised is to see Turkey and Turkish content being as part of the most popular global and international content, but actually should not be a surprise because Turkey has been exporting content for decades now and is basically the genesis of where the platform Tabii was born, it's a digital streaming platform taking the magic of Turkish storytelling to the rest of the world. And it was based on TRT, which is the company that Tabii is part of, having done this for decades and sold hundreds of series in hundreds of countries. With their most prime example and what created a global phenomenon was Diril Shertural, and a lot of our people would be aware of this show. When it was dubbed into Urdu, it hit 8 billion views on YouTube, and that's not a typo. It's B, billion with a B, and it's phenomenal. It just shows not only the strength of Turkish content, but also the strength of localizing a particular content in a language. Just one slide on what sets Tabii apart. It's the first time that Turkish content is being localized at such scale. Currently, we're looking at English, Spanish, Arabic, and Urdu as our primary languages, and then in our phase 2 we'll have some other languages as well. But what sets us apart is our stories, which bring about new perspectives of our beloved historical figures, superheroes, action, and of course the dramas, which is our most popular content. And of course, we've got an extensive lineup of originals which curate the best of Turkish entertainment and connect people and cultures through our tagline, which is stories that bond us. But coming back to our topic, which is localizing, and it's something which is not as straightforward as translating. And we are localizing, as I said, a lot of content for Tabii, and it's not an easy obstacle to climb into, even in today's world. And in fact, even more, because people want even better and more customized localization. So it takes incredible attention to detail and understanding of the nuances of language as well as culture. I've just kept a simple example here, which is people say, take dubious statements with a pinch of salt in the UK, and Americans say a grain of salt, which is basically the same language in two different geographies. Now imagine if this is going to be localized into a different language. There are a lot more challenges to face. And another example is La Casa de Papel, which is known as money heist all over the world. The literal translation is house of paper, which doesn't quite have that kind of ring to it. So localization is important, but it's also extremely difficult. It takes multi-functional teams. It takes a lot of tasks to get together to localize a particular piece of content. And of course, I can't go through all of them, but I've just put a few of them for our audience to understand what it takes. And of course, this by no means is an exhaustive list, but it's just to give you a sense of what needs to be done. So if you look at colloquialism, so audiences should relate to the content that they are watching, right? And the message of the dialogue should resonate with the same intention as the original voice. Now, dubbing translators need to use colloquial language, need to be native speakers to be able to get that. Another thing is censorship, which you need to honor the original creative intent as far as possible, but without hurting the sensibilities of viewers from different regions, different languages, which of course for tabii is not as much of a challenge because our content itself is very family friendly. So, but of course is something that you need to do. Voice casting performance is an extremely arduous task, getting a creative director to cast the right voices to get the right optimum performance from each character for each actor. UI changes. Now, something as trivial as writing the description of a title and translating it into another language creates havoc with the UI because the number of characters, etc., change depending on the language. The orientation of the language from left to right and right to left changes the UI as well. So something as trivial as that takes a lot of planning. And A/B testing of various accents, dialects, different options for translation. Also, visuals of the thumbnails need to be tested and seen which ones work better in a particular language or geography. So there's a lot that needs to be done. But if it is done right, it creates huge brand perception for that particular brand. And it plays a very pivotal role. Brands that invest in meaningful localization are often seen as culturally sensitive, inclusive, and committed to understanding their audiences, which of course creates tremendous goodwill, leads to, of course, great monetization opportunities because the viewers feel a strong connection to the brand and therefore subscribe more. Localization done correctly can also connect with the audiences on a deeper level by understanding and respecting their cultural nuances. And last but not the least, comprehensive localization ensures that users have a seamless experience regardless of the location or language preferences. So it's something that's extremely important and creates great value for your brand. And yeah, thank you for listening to me.
Aqeel, thank you so much. And again, your presentation already raised lots of questions from the audience, but I want to start asking the basics. Why do you think Turkish content is so popular around the world? Why people love Turkish content so much?
Right, so that's a good question. Now, the popularity of the dramas comes from the themes that focus on family, friendship, and love. It's usually set against a backdrop of luxurious lifestyles in Istanbul or Turkey's rich history, and they offer something for everyone, regardless of where you're from. So I've heard that people say that watching Turkish dramas, people see reflections of their own family. And there's no nudity, there's no cursing, there's not much hate. It's very watchable with your family. And apart from that, the production values, as I said, the concept of family, which is mostly on the foreground, and the balance. And what I think is also a very important point is the balance of modernity as well as the rooted traditions of the country. So what they do is that the reflection of the characters being modern, at the same time effortlessly upholding the rich cultural heritage and values belonging to this geography, make Turkish content so popular. And of course, it doesn't hurt that the characters are all gorgeous. I mean, I stay here in Istanbul, and when I walk down the street, it's like I'm in a movie set. So that really helps.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I'm based in London, but my family in Spain, they're all addicted to the Turkish series. But they're asking a very good question. How do you differentiate yourself from, let's say, companies like K-dramas? So what is your unique differentiating point? How can you stand out versus other Turkish companies?
Versus other Turkish companies or versus K-drama?
K-drama. This particular one, they say, for example, K-dramas.
Yeah, so K-drama, as you saw in my presentation, is still the #1, and it has helped because Netflix has taken it on in a big way. But if you see, even Netflix is starting to realize that there are other cultures and other content which is very popular, and Turkish content is extremely popular. What I think has helped Korean drama over Turkish content is they have been able to brand Korea as a culture better than we have done so far. And we have not been able to do our localization at scale the way they have done it. Once we get those things together, I think Turkish content will be as popular, if not more popular than Korean content.
Than Korean. And also, Aqeel, people want to know if you can share any success stories. So what has been the impact of investing in locally produced original content on your platform for growth and viewership? Do you have any success story or case study you can share with us of investing in local produced original content?
Yeah, so currently tabii is just available in Turkey. We are starting to make the platform live as a soft launch in multiple countries, but we have not yet started to go international, which we intend to do once our localization process is complete. So we have that on the anvil. What we do is we are intending to have localized content depending on, especially like say, for example, Mina, where we have localized content and then try and get that onto our platform, as well as localize the Turkish content, which is already so popular in Mina. If you see, even Mina is a very big appetite, Shahid, and most other platforms have a lot of Turkish content, and people don't know it is Turkish. So that sort of localization is what we're trying to do once we expand internationally.
And I think you kind of touched on this already, but they're asking you how important is to tailor that content to local cultures, languages. Can you provide examples when you did well localization and how it boosted viewers and platform success?
Yeah, so the example which I gave in the presentation itself is, I mean, there's no better example than that, which is the Rilish Etril. It was dubbed in Urdu, and before that it didn't really take off. But once it got dubbed, it just took off because people started to understand what, and it wasn't even done by us in-house. So once we are in control of the localization, and we do that very carefully because the way our localization team looks at it, we have an in-house team as well of native speakers who QC the content. So each show is treated as a theatrical, and we make sure that it is localized with all the cultural nuances of language and region to make sure it can be a success.
Fantastic, Aqeel. And I touched in my presentation about the role of AI in dubbing, and I wonder if AI can be that magical tool helping all this, or if in fact it's not really a magical tool. But I think I want to bring Udai into the conversation, because Udai, what do you think about what Aqeel just said about how important localization is?
It is very important. I want to I have a couple of remarks regarding what we discussed before. As Aqeel said, we are specialized in the MENA region as language solutions. So actually, the Turkish content is the top performer in the MENA region, and it is the top performer because it is localized in the correct way, because it's taken into consideration all the factors that should be taken, so the localization should succeed. So the Turkish content here is king as in the MENA. I also wanted to make a quick remark about FAST in MENA, and if it's going to grow, why is it not growing yet? I think it is going to grow, and it is going to grow very fast and in a major way, because if we see now MENA, the MENA region, most people are like slowly migrating into SAP or VOD platforms, but mainly the biggest consumers are still using cable TV.
Yeah.
So the fast model is going to make to help the migration. A lot of people can't afford to pay like for subscriptions. So having the fast model, I think in 2 or 3 years is going to make that shift very fast.
Thank you, Udai. That's very good remarks. And before we move into your presentation, Aqeel, people have more questions. They are really keen to know, when are you really expanding internationally? Do you have a launch date that you can share with us today? Where are you going to go next and when?
Yes, unfortunately, I don't have a launch date, but as I said, we are really committed to getting our content localized before we launch. And I know that a lot of viewers have been asking us when we're going to launch, and we are going to launch very soon, and we will keep everybody updated. Right now, I don't have a date to share.
It will be this year, Aqeel, or we're talking more about 2025.
It will be a phased launch, so it won't be available all throughout at the same time. So we will go region-wise. MENA is one of our preferred regions, but again, we still need to figure which region to start with and which region will then follow after that. So that is still in the works at the moment.
Perfect. So let us know. So with that note, I want to move to Udai, because again, Udai, we didn't speak a lot about the role of AI, and I know you know a lot about it. So Udai, do you have a deck that you can share with us with some of the things new language is doing?
Okay, so to understand how to use AI and the role of AI in localization, I'm going to share some tips about localization and what decisions shall we make before like going like straight through to AI. So when localizing, when putting a localization strategy, we have a lot of questions that we might have in mind. Do we sub or dub? If we dub, what dialects shall we use? What options do we have? Is it mainly a full human translation or mainly AI? And what guidelines should we go with? Deciding these factors, deciding on what shall we do, and designing the localization strategy and sticking to it will help the content succeed or not. So so we have to answer this question before like we go into localization. What shall we consider when localizing? If we have content and we want to localize it, so we have first to see the audience we are localizing for. What are their cultural preferences? What the region and the preferences of the people of the region. Also age group, because like we have a major difference between like Gen Zers localization preferences in comparison to like millennials and boomers. Also, content type plays a very important factor in what choice shall we use. Like, is it like drama? Is it a documentary? What's the original language, and what's the language we are going to present it in? As I've said, we have to make some decisions before delving into localization and giving it to like subtitlers or dubbers to do it. We have to put like clear guidelines regarding localization style. Like, shall we try to with our localization style, shall we like stick closer to the source language style, or like shall we make it very local? If we're like heading or targeting a very local audience, we can make it like very local. If we're planning to use the same localized content in like similar regions, it's better not to make it very local. Also, creative direction. There are a lot of important stuff that we should like decide on, like names. Shall we like keep them in the original language names, or like shall we give them local names? Songs, shall we localize them, or like shall we leave them as they are? jokes and how to deal with them. All these things should be like put firsthand before delving into localization. And also dealing with sensitive topics, it's very important when coming from a region into a different region, considering the cultural differences. Some storylines might be not valid or not usable in this area. So we have to know terminology. What terms shall we use? What terms shall we like try to avoid? Sometimes dubbing companies alters context using, because we're dubbing. So like we can change the storyline, what characters are saying, without like manipulating the whole storyline, but we can change some of the storyline through dubbing, so we can like remove the sensitive context. Also, like there is video editing. Some broadcasters just cut something that might be not very usable in the area that we are targeting. So we have the question, shall we dub or shall we use subtitles? Dubbing depends on several factors, some of them that I've mentioned before. But when we decide on dubbing, it is very important that we can afford to do it the right way. As Aqeel mentioned, if the quality of the dubbing isn't a bar with the quality of the production, then it's gonna show for the user. They're gonna know that this is just like a voice that's stuck on the video. So having the quality of the dubbing matching the quality of the original video is very important. Also, what dubbing could be useful in? We live in the age of attention economy. Most of our users come from like a very long hour job, and they want to like to watch something while like they're scrolling through their phone or cooking or something. So having content that speaks their language, they don't have to like stick their eyes always on the screen. They can like do stuff while watching content. So having the content dubbed, having the dubbing option will help them like increase their watching rate. But as I've said, we should do dubbing in the correct way. So choosing the right dialect is very important. Let's say if we have a Spanish period drama and we like want to dub it into English, most of users will expect it to be like dubbed into like British English rather than Australian. The same thing happens in MENA. Like here, if we have a modern day drama, usually the Syrian dialect is the most used. People expect it, like Turkish, as most Turkish drama is dubbed into Syrian dialect. If we have documentaries or content aimed for young children, we use the modern standard Arabic, or the correct standard Arabic, is because we want kids to learn their original language, not some dialect or different dialect. Also, we have like Egyptian is used into dubbing animation a lot. When should we subtitle, since we talked about dubbing? Subtitling, you've mentioned, Maria, in your deck that YouTube is always like on the top. This is because, let's say, all social media content uses this. Social media content uses subtitles more than like the usual the usual content. Sometimes dubbed content on platforms doesn't have subtitles, but social media content usually uses subtitles. Subtitles should always be there, whether you've dubbed your content or not, because it is an added value. One of the added values it can do, it's an SEO boost. Most of the search engines crawl over your subtitles files if you integrate them in the correct way. So this is going to be helpful. Some studies show that 40% increase in viewership when the videos have subtitles, and 80% increase in reaching the video's end. If a video has subtitles, users might reach the video's end more. Also, subtitling is accessibility. A lot of people who watch our content might have hearing disabilities or hard of hearing. So being accessible to these audiences is very important. Also, like as I've said, nowadays content isn't like sitting in front of a TV and watching. It has to be like more flexible. So a lot of people watch on their phones, like while on commute or like in social settings. So having your content accessible, or it could be watched while on mute, is very important. So audience can consume it more. Some users use subtitles instead of dubbing, prefer subtitles instead of dubbing while learning new languages. So they have the language they want to learn and the subtitles in their own language. And a study showed the university in a university in America that 71% of the students who use closed captions or subtitles actually don't have hearing disabilities. They use it because it increases concentration. Nowadays, the way that movies are produced and the sound mixing, some of the words, even if you like know the language, some of the words aren't that clear for the viewer. So having subtitles will help you concentrate and understand the context more. So we can like think about localization not only like something to reach the local audience. It's also helpful for making your content adaptable for any user experience, making it flexible so it can suit them in any way possible. I've made some insights about localization preferences depending on country. Some countries prefer subtitles over dubbing, and some countries prefer dubbing over subtitles. We see like India and Japan, USA and Turkey prefer subtitles, while Mexico, Brazil, Russia, and Germany prefer dubbing. It can be like different factors, maybe like the audience's preferences, what they are used to, or even the national language and how much the people of the country are sticking to it or are open to learning new languages. In the MENA region, content really defines if like we're going to dub or sub. Usually, English content in MENA is just subtitled because most of the users know English, so they prefer to listen to English while watching. While like other foreign content like Turkish, Indian, and Korean is dubbed. We come like after like deciding shall we sub or dub, we come to the great decision: shall we use AI or like human translation? What I can say from our experience, AI is not like fully equipped to make a full localization process. It still needs monitoring. It still needs tweaking. It didn't reach like its full potential yet. So when we want to decide, we should look into budget and speed. If we like have a very huge content with a small amount of time and we're running on a small budget, it's usually preferable like to use AI. But like if we want to to be more specific in our localization, we are targeting an area with like intricate demands. It's usually better to use full human translation, as full human translation will play on all what I've mentioned before: the intricacies, the quality, matching the original quality, so that the audience will have the full experience. Also, we have to mention that we have hybrid solutions, that have some AI and some human translation. It doesn't have to be either or. It's something that supports something. So AI is a tool that we should know how to use, but it is a tool from a lot of tools that we should use while doing our localization. So that's some of the tips I've wanted to share with you.
Udai, this is fantastic. And the thing is, you have said in so many amazing insights that we are already running out of time. But if people can stay 5 minutes more, because I can see there are still lots of questions. I really like the fact that you said how different genres require maybe different accents. Also, you said it's not the same English from Britain than from Australia, or even Spanish in Latin America, Mexico, Argentina, from Spain. So people in the audience want to know, do you think that AI will be able to replicate pronunciations, different accents, dialects, whatever you want to call it? Do you think AI will become, maybe not now, you said now there are some challenges, but do you think AI will be able to do that dubbing into Egyptian Arabic, into Syrian Arabic? What do you think?
I think to have this, AI could do anything, but to have this, we have to approach AI training in the correct way. So right now, a lot of AI training is happening as a generic data sets that are put into AI. So a lot of the times, what we notice that we have something called AI poisoning or data poisoning. It's something that when the data that you are training on isn't 100% correct. So to have AI doing these accents, to have AI doing this the correct way, we have to to train it on the correct data. So we have to work on these data sets.
Perfect. And people are also very curious about if you can share best practices for translating and dubbing to enhance viewer engagement. How can you make sure you take into account cultural differences in your localized versions? Can you share best practices?
Okay, so this is best practices is always to head to a local localization agency. Having locals and content advisors who know the intricacies and the preferences of the audience, who have experience in this field, they will guide you through this. So as I've mentioned, if we look into AI and localization, we have this balance. But if you're looking to target the audience the correct way, you still have to have the human factor or expert factor in this way.
And I think you answered this question as well. So do you think AI is already proving good enough for valid subtitling work? So what about subtitling? Do you think AI is already enough?
I think it depends on the language it's doing the subtitles for. Here in Arabic, Arabic has a lot of pronouns and like conjugations that it's making it hard for AI to do it. But let's say transcribing or closed captioning into English, AI is showing a really good job right now in transcription, let's say, or closed captioning. In translating, it still has its faults, but it can be like you can do your content in AI and have someone who QC it or quality check it. And you should always, if your audience are familiar with the language that is broadcasting, and you are subtitling, like let's say bilingual countries who speak like English and French. If the content is in English and you are doing French subtitles, you can do it in AI, because the audience will notice if something is wrong. They know from the original context. So it depends if your audience is familiar with the source language or not.
Fantastic. Udai, I mean, we are already running 5 minutes, so I'm going to ask the last question to all of you to close this fantastic webinar. But please feel free to reach to any of us if you have follow-up questions, because I appreciate there was so much value here that we were not able to answer you all. So my last question for you all will be, what can we expect in the near future in the streaming world? What will be for you the biggest change or the biggest thing happening in the last 12 months? For Stefan, maybe it's fasting MENA. For Udai, maybe AI in dubbing. If you have to close, but we have to be very, very short, 30 seconds each. If you have to close this seminar with a message to the audience, what that message will be for each one of you, starting with Stefan.
Right, so all right, so I'll try to be quick. So if we're talking about 12 months, of course, we'll not get a huge revolution in 12 months, but definitely, as we mentioned before, way more platforms are coming. So I've seen at least 4 or 5 new platforms coming within the next 12 months. Yeah, in the MENA.
Fantastic. That's a very good message. Udai. closing the 30 seconds.
As I've said, I think people will understand AI more. They will understand it is a tool and will know how to use it more, and they will have more integrated solutions rather than like these split solutions that we're seeing now.
And finally, last but not least, Aqeel, to finish this webinar today, any message to the audience?
Yeah, I think fast is going to be the next wave, and people are getting, because of churn in the industry and fatigue of S-word, I think fast is going to be the next wave with AI integrated. So I think it's going to be a very, very bouncy ride for people in this industry.
Fantastic. And my last sentence will be partnerships. Let's be friends with each other. There is no point of speaking about streaming wars, streaming fights. There are too many fights already. Partnerships, friendships is the way forward. And with this note, thank you very much. Fantastic speakers. I feel privileged to share this webinar with you all, and looking forward to see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Maya.
Thank you.
Thank you.